Good morning. Welcome to Tip Off this morning. Hope you enjoyed Bowler and myself yesterday. We're doing a little Bowler Jack Locke and Gerard at Papa John's. We sure had a nice time with that. It was really fun to do a show with Bowler. We hadn't probably done one of those together, just the two of us, since probably 1988 or something. It was fun. We've done podcasts and other things, but to do a 3-hour show, it's cool. This one's going to be a little bit of a funky tip off today because it's currently 6:24 in the morning, and hopefully I'm going to get this done. But we may have an abrupt cutoff because, actually, I'll just share the story. It's funny. We had We have a friend who has his kids, and he said, "Hey, can you help us drive the kids to school?" Well, of course. So we had an event at our house last night, and he was here, and we're like, "Okay, well, what time we'll swing by and pick him up. What time do we need to pick him up?" Oh no, I'll drop him off at about 6:40. 6:40. You'll drop him off at 6:40. My kids don't get up till 7:05. So we weren't really prepared for the drop off at 6:40. It's worth noting that one of the three kids that's being dropped off at the house has no volume control. And so they're arriving at 6:40. And I'm going to somehow try the best of my ability to entertain them while letting my kids sleep those extra 20 minutes. So it's 6:40, which we may be able to get this done by. I have to sprint to the door because let me trust me. This kid will ring the doorbell. We all know that kid. So, have you guys seen Louis C.K.'s comedy special about kids? Oh God, it's funny. It is so funny. Um, he does a he does a whole bit about the kid he doesn't like, and we're supposed to like every kid. It's not actually true. We ask our kids to like every kid, but we don't actually like every kid, and it's pretty funny. It's really pretty funny. So if you get a chance, I don't know, maybe I'll see if I can swing that around out of for Comedy Week if we continue to do our 450 comedy specials. All right, it's cool. I just want to. Yesterday, I had a really cool experience. I We had a lunch at ZTAOS with about Mountain America Credit Union, a few other Stedmans, and a few other Gallisons, and some other sponsors. And it was just cool. We just sat around a table and we BS'd about the Jazz, and I thought I'd just kind of some of those conversations piece would be much of what we do today. And to some extent, that's what I try to do every day with tip off is allow just kind of that BS conversation, rambling, rolling about various things. Obviously, we got into some stories there that probably I don't roll into easily with tip off, but that's largely the concept. Anyway, there were two things I just want to say. One, it was really cool to just be around these guys, and it's such an incredible honor and privilege that companies believe in what we do on the radio at such a level that they're willing to spend their money on our stations, believing that it's going to increase their revenue because of what we do. And I've always been kind of stunned and flattered by that. And I just want to thank those people and thank anybody who does that because it is pretty stunning to me when that takes place. Um, the Sorry, I just got a text from PK actually. So a bunch of things. Today is extension day. Eric Gordon's an interesting case. He's sitting at the 4-year level. New Orleans is not giving him that fifth year, the vaunted fifth year. The way it works is every team can designate one player for a 5-year offer, and every agent wants that for his player. And it's going to be really interesting to see which teams cave because when you give the 5-year, you have to give a 5-year max. So that's kind of the storyline of today. It's midnight tonight. We aren't worrying about it, but it'll be very curious to watch. Ryan Anderson is a really nice player for Orlando. Is not going to get an extension, largely because they're trying to keep cap money to try to hold on to Dwight. Eric Gordon, New Orleans is an interesting case where, I mean, they made this big trade. They kind of have to keep him, but are they willing to give him what they need? Kevin Love is another one. So we'll keep an eye on how all of these work and what happens with them. West Minnesota situation, I don't think so bad because I think by the time Rubio comes up, that Kevin Love would be off that contract and onto another contract, um, and it would allow them. But Rubio is going to be a 5-year designate guy. I mean, I can tell you that right now. He's that good. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Some of the conversations we had at the little get together. One was about Devin Harris, which everybody wants to. And let's talk about this for a second. One of the questions was, well, are the Jazz shopping Devin Harris? It's such a weird term to me because like I think we perceive that like Kevin O'Connor's calling everybody up and saying, "Hey, Devin Harris is available." He's certainly not doing that. Every team in the NBA is paying attention to what's going on with every other team in the NBA. That's their job and their sole job. So they're aware that Devin might be struggling. They're aware that we have 4 youngs, that Devin may or may not be a part of the future of this franchise. So to some extent, in addition, every team in the league probably knows who Kevin O'Connor likes on their roster, who would fit. They can probably are bright enough to look and see who Kevin would like. And so, to some extent, this whole idea of shopping him, it, to me, almost implies that the GMs aren't doing their jobs. And so these guys, most of them, I mean, I think all of them are pretty competent. That wasn't a ringing endorsement, but and and so Kevin knows what players are out there that he might be able to acquire. So it doesn't do him any good right now to pick up the phone and call anyone. It would be as though if you're trying to get the best deal from some retailer or some supplier for your company, and I'm desperate. Hey, I'm desperate for something. Can I get? Well, you're not getting a good deal at that point. So the whole idea that the Jazz would actually be shopping Devin is really an asinine concept because they're not going to be picking up the phone and calling everyone saying, "Oh, he's available." The idea that Devin's available is really kind of a no-brainer. Everybody's to some extent available. We're probably reluctant to move any of our 4 youngs because they're not playing as well as we think they could play one day, and so their value is lower than what what the Jazz perceive it to be. But are we willing to trade anybody else on the roster? Probably, depending on who we get offered. The same way that Kobe's available for Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, or some of those players. So I don't really know how to answer the concept is really, frankly, made up by the media who wants to create something to talk about. Is, I guess, the best way I can say it. But Kevin O'Connor's not on the phone calling everyone saying, the most active role Kevin O'Connor probably ever did with that is when the whole thing was going on last year with Denver and New York. Kevin did make phone calls out to just about every team to kind of say, hey, would there ever be a scenario where you would move Russell Westbrook? No, we would never do. Okay. Is there ever a scenario where you move Derrick Rose? No, we would never do that. No. Is there ever a scenario where you'd move Blake Griffin? Well, okay, the guy on the other end of the phone pretty much knows there's only one player on that Jazz roster that would ever get him to trade any of those guys, and it was Darren. But Kevin can make those calls without ever mentioning Darren's name and do it clandestine, and then, he's not shopping Darren, but he's looking around the league at what's going on, and that's what Kevin was able to do, walk down his checklist and realize, okay, I'm not going to get, if I trade Darren, I'm not getting back one of the 4 or 5 high-level point guards in return, so now but I can get Devin Harris back at the next level. And he looked around the league. If he goes to Toronto, could I get Calderon? Could I get Bargnani? Could I get? All right, no, okay. Well, then I'm going to go here. Bargnani's in town tonight, by the way, and he's playing great. He's healthy again. Toronto, don't be lost by Toronto's record. I think they were 0-6 or 0-7 when Bargnani did not play. So they're a little bit better than the record. They won last night in Phoenix. Dwayne Casey has them really playing hard and playing defensively good basketball. So we'll keep an eye on that. The other question was on regards to Devin Harris, and PK wrote a nice piece. He always does as well, and that was uh, whether or not Devin's going to get out of this slump. And there's two parts on that. One is yes, but two is it depends how we use him. Devin does his best work in transition as well as off the pick and roll. We have slowed down the amount of possessions we use in transition, and we also aren't running much pick and roll. We're really running the ball through the post on just about every time. I'm pulling something up right now to see if I can see what percentage of possessions he's using in those two areas, because that's when he was at his best, what he used to do. And so to some extent, we're not using Devin in how he can be used. And as the season goes on, without disturbing what we're doing, I think that's going to be something they have to figure out. How can Devin get some more transition opportunities? When are the circumstances that Devin can push? And in addition to that, is there more pick and roll option? As we talked about throughout, I still think there's some changes in this rotation to best maximize different players, and maybe Devin's included in that. If you look at Devin this year, only 15% of his plays right now are on pick and roll, and he hasn't converted on them at all, which is, makes it hard to suddenly add those in. He's only shooting 4 of 15 on those opportunities. He's getting about 30% of his offense as a spot-up shooter. He's never been a particularly good spot-up shooter. I don't have the ability to go to synergy any deeper than that because synergy only has last 2 years worth of work. And I've seen that some of you have picked up synergy and are probably really enjoying it. It's probably worth the $90, by the way. But if you go back to Devin with New Jersey, 41% of his offense is on the pick and roll, and he's a top 20 player in the NBA doing that. And then his transition is another 18%. He goes to the free throw line. And as a spot-up shooter, he wasn't great. He was a little better than he is right now. So to some extent, what's going on with Devin is we're asking him to do things that aren't his forte. It's Jimmer week. Jimmer comes in on Saturday. Jimmer crazies are still out there, and it's great. I can't wait, and I hope Jimmer really plays well because I thought last year it was a very important day for Gordon Hayward when he played well. Sebastian Pruetti does work for Grantland.com, and he originally founded the website NBAPlaybook.com, which is a lot of fun. He is, according to Twitter, as of midnight last night, he's really working on a Jimmer set. And he had some comments, didn't sound particularly positive, honestly. But he's really talking about Jimmer and whether he should play the 2 or the 1. And this is a big issue of what position Jimmer is. He pointed out that his PR at the point is 8.0. His PR at the 2 is 3.7. I don't really still understand PER, but it tells you whether he's playing better. Another interesting point he tweeted out about Jimmer was that Jimmer was a decent passer in college, but with all the double teams he created passing lanes. He's now forced to create those passing lanes with dribble penetration or thread the needle, and he can't do it. And that's a great point. But I think he's been distributing better than I would have suspected. So I think I don't know. I would say that I thought there's some areas where I think he's really done better. He does mention how Jimmer off the basketball has not done a lot of work, and so that'll be good because that's another person's unaffiliated. I can just feel we're so deep into this that a lot of you guys think that in some ways I've got some bias, which I don't. I really hope he plays well. I'm very concerned though. I'm not. I will tell you that the early part of this year looks eerily similar to Adam Morrison to me, who I covered when he was in college and watched, and the similar phenomenon, and then got to the league and somehow it didn't work. And that's really been surprising to me. So I'm very concerned. It's only 15 games in, so it's probably too early to put the very in there, but I have, and hopefully things are gonna turn for him. All right, this is getting long, and I've got the 6:40 drop-off coming. Quickly, let me go to tip-off questions. I always like to get those, and I really appreciate it. Maybe we'll just do one coming up We should have done today. It's just only tip-offs. Um, who minutes will Howard take in the rotation when he comes back? I guess it's Alec Burks. But I would also say I just don't feel like any of those wing players are so consistent that it's going to be a problem. If all five of them play well and deserve those minutes, that'd be great. But that's very contrary to what I think I expect. How long do you think the Knicks will cling to Melo and Amari, especially if Melo has a bad game and they win? I think if they can get Dwight Howard, they would blow this thing up already, which is pretty funny that, Dream Team 2 or whatever, Power Group 2 or whatever of players gets together and they may blow this thing up already. I would trade Melo. I think he's a death to your team. Alec Lamb wants to know when will the Jazz use their trade exception. I would expect that it will be most valuable on draft day. I think they will hold on to it for till draft day. When is a good time to say hi to me during a Jazz game? You always seem busy. I probably am always busy. I get to the arena about 5. You can't see me between 5 and 5:15. That's the best. I do my TV shot at 5:15. I do tie at 5:30. I do the visiting coach at 5:40. I run upstairs. I talk to the other team to get some insight on their team till about 6:05. I run upstairs and get the interviews on the air. So I would say halftime or after the game. After the game is actually probably the best time. We actually have some little bit of time after the game. So after the game is probably best. Halftime I have that interview. So that would probably be my thought, but I appreciate the interest. Is the scout segment anonymous for shtick, or do the scouts really have to remain anonymous? My scout absolutely cannot be using his name on the air. I hope you heard it, and hopefully we can get up on the Locked On Jazz podcast. Subscribe, by the way, to the Locked On Jazz podcast. Get this every day and get future podcasts. I have a feeling that the podcasts are going to increase here, but we'll see. Never know what might be around the corner, what might be happening, changing, all that kind of fun stuff. All right, sounds good. I got it done before the 6:40 arrival, and hope you enjoyed today's tip-off. I feel like I'm short on great magnitude of information for you today. My bad if I failed you today. See ya.